Gerald Talbot is being remembered across Maine for a life that helped shape the state's civil rights movement. The former legislator and trailblazing community leader died over the weekend at the age of 94.
News Center Maine's Alex Haskell joining us live in our studio with a look at Talbot's life, legacy, and the impact he now leaves behind. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Amanda. Well, Gerald Talbot made history as Maine's first black state legislator, using his time in office to fight for equality. But people who knew him say his legacy goes far beyond politics.
He's just a special human being.
To Timothy Wilson, Gerald Talbot was many things.
It's a mixture of things, from being a mentor, being a friend.
Wilson says Talbot spent much of his life encouraging black and minority Mainers, himself included, to see their own potential, often urging them to get involved in public service and run for office.
He believed in what should be, could be.
In 2012, Talbot sat down with Rob Caldwell to reflect on how attending Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington in 1963 changed the course of his life.
Oh, it changed my life completely, because I knew in my own mind that I had to go back to the state of Maine and do something. Do something. Just don't go back to the state of Maine and forget about it, go back to work and forget about that march.
Talbot would go on to become Maine's first black state lawmaker in the 1970s, using his position to push for greater equality across the state.
There was a fair housing legislation that he introduced as a legislator, much of it centered upon desegregating housing.
University of Southern Maine Provost Adam Tuschinski says Talbot also introduced gay rights legislation in 1977, a first for Maine at the time. He also led efforts to remove racist and offensive language from the names of lakes and other places across the state.
So many of the issues that are still relevant in our time, Gerald Talbot was attuned to throughout his entire political career as a leader in Maine.
As for Wilson, he says Talbot's legacy will live on through the people he inspired to lead and create change.
The icing on the cake is his own children, and how they still stand up for the things that he ingrained in them.
Now, Talbot's children include Portland City Councilor Regina Phillips and Rachel Talbot Ross, who became Maine's first black House Speaker in 2022. In studio, Alex Haskell, News Center Maine.
Vice President J.D. Vance is coming here to Maine this week.
He will be in Bangor on Thursday. That's according to leaders with the Maine Republican Party. We're told Vance will speak at the Bangor International Airport. It's not clear yet what he'll be discussing or why he's stopping in Maine, but with midterms approaching, Republicans certainly are trying to win back the 2nd congressional district. Democrat Jared Golden is not seeking re-election this year. Early in-person and absentee voting begins today for the June 9th primaries. The Secretary of State's office says you can go to your city or town hall to cast your ballot early until the end of the business day on June 4th. Now today, one U.S. Senate candidate joined Maine's early in-person voters.
Our Akua DeVal has a closer look at Graham Platner at the polls today and his energy plan for Mainers.
On the first day of early voting in Maine, Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Graham Platner starting his morning in his hometown, casting his ballot alongside his wife at the Sullivan Town office.
It is paramount that we as Mainers use our constitutional rights to turn out and vote.
Platner then traveling to Ellsworth, sharing details on his Take Back American Power plan. The proposal comes as Maine continues to face some of the highest energy costs in the country.
Hard work is not enough anymore, and Mainers are working harder than ever, having to choose between gas and groceries.
The plan calls for eliminating the federal gas and diesel tax, freezing electricity rate increases for 4 years, and investing in clean energy and home efficiency programs.
Energy bills are already eating close to a third of every paycheck, and it's about to get worse.
Platner says high energy costs are a major driver of financial pressure for working families, arguing the solution requires a shift in national policy.
The solutions are straightforward. They simply require the political will to make happen. To end big oil's stranglehold on our energy policy, to slash prices for consumers.
That message resonating with some supporters Monday.
I think that Graham is somebody who will stand up for people. The rising gas prices really affects people on the ground.
Platner also calling for federal investment in energy infrastructure and domestic production to help reduce costs and increase reliability.
There is no better use of American dollars to protect our national security than creating a robust energy system that makes us self-sustaining.
Platner says he will continue to frame the race around cost of living issues as he seeks to make energy prices and economic pressure a central theme heading into November. In Hancock County, Akua DeVal, News Center, Maine.
Platner says his plan also calls for a strategic fuel reserve for farms and fisheries to help protect against spikes in diesel costs.
Tomorrow, Maine's Superior Court is hearing arguments on why a referendum question regarding trans athletes should not appear on the state ballot this fall. It's after the Secretary of State's office reported a petition from the group Protect Girls Sports in Maine received the necessary number of signatures to get the question in front of voters in November. Several people are now challenging the validity of some of those signatures. Tomorrow's hearing will take place at the State House at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Also tomorrow, voters in Lewiston will decide if they approve the school board's proposed budget of roughly $130 million. If the majority of voters say yes, that will serve as the district's budget for the upcoming school year. Voting is happening at the Longley School. The polls open at 7 tomorrow morning. They close at 8 p.m. If you have an absentee ballot, you must return that also by 8 p.m. tomorrow.
A man from Lewiston is facing charges related to an apparent shooting near Ash and Howe Streets yesterday. Police say witnesses told officers about two groups of teens and young adults shooting at each other. Police say they found shell casings in the area, and 21-year-old Jaden Shaw was arrested. They say no one was hurt, but bullets did damage some vehicles and other property.